Okay, good evening, everyone. We are going to start this evening's HPARB meeting. And to begin with, we are going to do a pledge of allegiance. So everyone can stand and face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we are going to begin by have a motion on the minutes from the November 18th meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And next, we are going to the public hearing with regard to the three property at Marsden, 7, 12, and 15, have asked that we adjourn those discussions until the next meeting, which will be December 23rd. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn those three properties, 7 Marsden, 12 Marsden, and 15 Marsden Street.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, great.
And the public hearings will remain open for that.
Yes, and public hearings will continue to remain open when we commence that on December 23rd. And next, we will go to the consent agenda matters. We had a total of 6 agenda items. And so if someone could make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
Make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We will now proceed to old business. And the first item we have is 29 Henry Street.
Hello, I'm Lawrence McDonald, the architect for 29 Henry Street.
Hello, Mr. McDonald.
How are you?
If you could just give us an update on the business.
Sure. As you may recall, at the last meeting, we presented a revised 4-bay front facade of the proposed alterations to 29 Henry Street. And there were 2 comments made that the attic window should be kept as the existing double hung size that it is now, and that the front door be a 4-panel as opposed to a 6-panel that we had. So I've made those changes, and I can share my screen and show you that. If you can allow that.
There you go.
Thank you. Here is the proposed front facade now. I believe the 4-bay was well received at the last meeting. And now you'll see the original size attic window up at the top and a 4-bay front door, which I understand is more consistent with the period. And those were the changes, basically.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yep.
It looks very nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we thank you for making those changes and for working with us. So if everyone feels comfortable with the changes.
I have a question.
Sure, Kristen.
I know that there was a different architect on this job originally. I just want to know if this job still conforms to the area variances he received from the previous architect.
That's right. Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Any other questions, anyone? Okay, So we could make a motion to approve 29 Henry Street.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you very much.
Great. So we will continue stamping now. If we could do 207 Main Street.
Wait,
Mr. Chairman, this is Dennis Downs. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dennis, we can hear you now.
Okay. I think on the line also is Mr. Coy from the architect's office. So, hey, Chris, could you just go through the changes that we made as a result of last month's meeting?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Good evening. This is Chris Coy, Barnes Coy Architects. We're going to put up the elevation on the screen. There was some discussion at the last hearing of the dormers on the front of the house. So you can see on the proposed west elevation, which is the Main Street elevation, we have removed those dormers altogether with the permission of the owner. So he's agreed to forego those dormers. And we have, there was some other request to draw the front door exactly as it appears. So that front door is now accurately drawn. That's the door that's there. Then around the back, which is the east elevation, proposed east elevation, we have a new dormer there, which is a combination of shed dormer and 3 gable dormers. And that was deemed to be a little high, so we lowered it down. We not only lowered it into the roof so that the sill height is closer to the finished floor in the attic, but we lowered the height of the dormers as well. So this is the appearance now, and it's well below. I think the discussion was that the dormer ridges of the new windows were at the same height as the main ridge, and now that you can see that the dormer ridges are well below the height of the main ridge. So that should solve that. That should solve that. And I think those were the main comments. Then we also were talking about the windows. Let's put up the drawing of the windows. So what we did, and you remember last time, and Zach was weighing in on this, we're proposing to replace all the existing windows with custom-made copies of the existing windows, because the existing windows are physically shot. They leak air and they rattle and they don't open and close, and they're shot. So we're proposing to have them rebuilt by Michael Riley Architectural Windows, and we have a representative with us on tonight, Jeff Cummings. But you'll see what we did. We had the builder physically remove one of the windows, and there you see the photograph in the lower left. That's in our design studio here in Bridgehampton. So we were able to make a very accurate survey of it and measure it. And those are the drawings you see there. So on your left, those are the existing windows, elevation and section. And on your right are the proposed, which of course is an exact copy. So we have already been in discussions with Michael Riley Architectural Windows through Jeff Cummings, who's on here tonight if you need to ask him any questions. And this is something they do, and they're quite used to reproducing historic windows.
Mhm. So quick question, Chris, the glazing of the replacement window sashes is double glazed, or how is that? Because the thickness is.
Yeah, it's an insulated glazing unit. It's an IGU, and it'll be the minimal thickness we can do in an IGU.
Right, okay, because you don't have much wiggle room there.
Right, that's right. And Jeff is the window expert. So if you want to ask him, he's on here, so he could comment on that.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Calling you regarding your generator.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was... Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Cummings. I'm from Riley Architectural, and certainly Chris and I have been back and forth on these windows, and our intention is to emulate exactly what is existing. The only change is that we would be creating an insulated glass unit, certainly be better for energy performance, and would certainly increase the thickness of the sash slightly, but not increase the style and rail profiles that you're seeing on the elevation there. So our goal is to make an exact replica of the unit, just making it a much better, more efficient product for the client, in the long-term use.
Well, I don't see that your new unit is thicker than the existing.
Well, we didn't know how much thicker it was going to have to be, so
okay.
We drew what what we want it to be, and then Jeff is gonna make it what it has to be. So in section it might, I don't know, Jeff, it might grow by 3/8 of an inch, something like that. But in elevation, it's going to be exactly the same.
I mean, I think the depth of your muntins has to be such that it will receive these insulated, panels, which are certainly thicker than a single pane of glass.
Yes,
correct.
The depth of the muntins would have to increase, but the sight line, which is shown in the elevation, would not increase.
Okay.
Chris, I'm not sure if it would be helpful, but I do have the picture that I shared with you of the unit that we did build for the project in Nantucket. That was certainly the same historical replication of a unit. I don't know if that would be helpful for the board to see. I can certainly. Should I share that?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. Share screen. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So there's a few pictures there. This one's indicating a storm panel on the exterior, but you can see the delicateness of this unit and really small scale of the profiles. So this was an exact replacement, same conversation, very historical property, and this was a product that's available. I mean, I could have the sample sent to you if you needed to see it, but it's pretty large and substantial for the conversation. But at least this shows you what we do. Every unit that we build is a custom product, and we do have the flexibility to adjust these profile sizes to match existings.
I have a question. I'm a little bit. Is this modification consistent with the Secretary of Interior's directives?
I think there's some area of interpretation there. Technically, I mean, any of the architectural fabric that is still viable is, to be saved and preserved and repaired as necessary, that sort of thing. I think the applicant is saying that the existing windows are not working up to their optimal performance, but of course, no old window does. So it's really, I think it's actually a question of whether or not your board is comfortable with replacing the windows, which on other projects has not been approved.
Didn't somebody say that these are not the original windows that came with the house and that they were substantially replaced?
Well, these are 2/2s, which probably date from the anywhere from the 1880s right up through the early part of the 1900s. So they were a substantial cosmetic improvement of the period. The originals would have been at least 6/6 or perhaps even smaller panes. You know, whether you decide that an update of this sort, which took place, 100 or more years ago, is simply a part of the history of the house, or whether replicating them is not the loss of original fabric, that's where the interpretation comes in. I think you've consistently, when we've gone out to look at houses with windows that are suggested or requested to be replaced, we've gone out and looked at them and determined whether they're, historical or not. And if we consider them to be, then we recommend interior storm windows that can deal with the drafts and the heat loss. So there are other ways of remediating an old window that's not performing the way we would like windows to perform today. In a house like this, when the original sashes from a stylistic standpoint are no longer there and no longer consistent with the architecture of the house, I think you may have a little more wiggle room to debate this amongst yourselves.
So can I just ask, Jeff, when you show us this example, I think you said it was Nantucket. These are not what the new windows are going to look like at 207 Main. This is just a sample that has a sash that is in Nantucket, correct?
Correct. And I would more so that the representation is just to show you that we have done this type of work, and that the profile are very skinny and small as they are existing units. So we can certainly replicate the units exactly.
This example that you're showing us is the, I don't want to say protected, but the glass that keeps the heat in and the cold out, correct?
I'm not sure, but I can tell you that it does show a storm panel, because that's something that they had requested us to do. As far as the glass itself, this is a simulated divided light unit with, I believe, an insulated glass panel. So that was my intention, just to show you the delicateness of these profiles, but certainly the gain, more so with the IG for the insulated glass unit. The storm panels, more often than not, we're asked to build storm panels for those units on that high on the island there, because they have tremendous damage from sand and blowing sand all through the winter. So they use the storm panels to protect the unit for the longevity of the life of the product.
I have a quick question, something that just came up. Now, what you're saying is, in the case of the samples that are illustrated, the top ones where you see the entire upper and lower sash, each being of two panes of glass, are you saying that that's actually a single piece of glass with a muntin subdividing it that is kind of floating on the top of the glass? Correct. Or is that two separate pieces?
No, it is a simulated applied muntin profile, but
in the middle.
What we do is we provide a spacer bar in that location, so that it emulates a true divided light product. The problem with doing a true divided light product and having an insulated glass profile with spacer bar and sight line and the capture of that behind the muntin profile, it requires the Mutton profile to gain from a, say, 3/4 or 1-inch profile like we're representing here to an 1 3/4 to 2-inch, so that it properly captures the true divided insulated unit. So otherwise you could have an easy failure. Certainly failure for seal failure is going to be a high probability. But in a simulated divided light format, you have a perimeter IGU capture with an SDL profile. And that's one of the reasons why I offered earlier, I could show this detail to you, maybe in a sash, maybe not the full height size unit, but at least you could see how it represents as a true, authentic look, although being the new technology.
Are you saying that the Muttons are snap-ins?
Not at all. No, they're
Always.
integral. They're integral to the sash. They're not removable. They are a component and coped in just like every other component of the window.
Okay.
But they do float above the surface of the glass.
They are applied to the glass. They're not floating.
Yeah.
They're truly attached.
I don't know. This seems like
I just want to make a comment here. I'm in a quandary because I believe in sustainability and energy efficiency. I believe that this sort of application should be within the guidelines of preservation. As Zach has mentioned, in the past, we've asked people to do what they could. Would it be fair to ask Zach to take a look at the windows and see if they are past repair?
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter how well that, we're going to call it it's a muntin, it's that vertical sash bar is what the English call it, that separates those two panes of glass traditionally. If that's a single piece of glass, which is filling the entire frame of the sash, even if the wood of the muntin is well secured and integrated into the surrounding frame, I think the fact that it's a single sheet of glass filling that upper sash, well, it's simply not going to look the same as windows look in which there are separate pieces of glass individually set within the frame. It's just going to look different. I understand from a stylistic point of view, if you get back far enough, it could probably be said that you can't tell the difference. But, you know, and you certainly want to work with homeowners who are looking to maintain their historical homes, variety of standards. But to me, the look of this is not really going to be the same as a historic window.
Well, I think if I may add a comment, I think if we look at the bottom photo now, that's a close up. I mean, yeah, no, we don't want to have to get far away to make this acceptable. We want it to be acceptable. So I think you can see that with this technology, with the spacer bar, and of course we've done this before as architects, it looks, honestly, you can't tell the difference. I mean, that's probably why you had to ask if it's a simulated divided light or a true divided light, because once you put the spacer bar and you've got the wood muntin on either side, you honestly can't, unless somebody tells you, there's just no way you could see that it's not a true divided light. That's what the spacer bar does. So, and you can also have different colors, like here's a black spacer bar. You could do a white spacer bar, and that would probably even make it better. So, you know, I think that, Zach, if you want to meet me over there tomorrow, I'm going to be there with the builder at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you're available, we could look at the windows in person if you want.
Do you have a sample on site?
I don't have a Riley sample. No, I mean, we could look at the existing windows if you want.
Well,
this might
Zach, this is Dennis Downs. If I can make a comment.
Hi, Dennis. Yeah.
Yeah, how we doing? All right, so I owned this house before I sold it to Mr. Lewis, the current owner. And we took every window out, had it sanded down to bare wood, and then put it back in. And
Mhm.
the issues I had with the windows was they all had bellows. Some of them had bellows with metal chain, others had it with rope. And it was obvious that those windows had been changed over time. Also, the other problem is they rattled like crazy because there was no support, so to speak. And it was just, you push the window up and you put a stick under it to hold it up. But down in the basement, we found an old rotted window that was 12 over 12. And I don't know if that was the original windows, but what I was able to figure out from looking at the records and the historical data was the house was originally built in somewhere around 1789 and then remodeled in the early 1800s. And the remodeling is they put that big box on the back of the house and connected it to what was a shed. And the shed was really the kitchen area where they did the cooking. So they didn't have a kitchen inside the house. They had the kitchen outside the house in a shed. It was detached. And then they wound up attaching it with that box-like structure in the back. But the windows are in poor shape. They were in poor shape when I bought it. And when I sold it, they were still in kind of poor shape, only because the air would leak in. And most of the times in the wintertime, what I had to do is I glued plastic on the inside, and you could always see that the air was coming in because the plastic was always puffed out. And then finally, I started using some sort of clay type thing, and you just put it in like you would caulking, and that seemed to work better. But those windows should be changed. Most of them, half the windows in the house have the old glass in it. The other half don't because they were broken. I have some pictures when the Rhodes family lived there in the 50s, where a tree fell into the upper left room. That would be the north side, the upper left bedroom, and smashed all the windows. And they replaced them with regular glass. I took it out and I bought some glass from a gentleman in Watermill who had the old glass and put it back in. So all I'm suggesting is that it definitely needs better windows to try to keep the air in, because the way they are now, that house just cools down immediately as soon as the weather gets cold, and you got to just keep jumping.
So just quick thing, because I'm sure the board wants to move on to this is a long agenda. That 12 light sash that you find in the basement is very likely preserved from the original house. It's typical of the late 18th century. If there were any intention of replacing windows here or any justification, I would say that restoring the original window type would be a justification that would go to the 12 over 12. And that would essentially be new no matter what you're doing, because it's being made now, in which case that configuration would be a better solution with a new window type than simply pulling out the windows, not from early 19th century, late 19th century, the 2 over 2s. So there may be a compromise here in terms of replicating the original window type, which is virtually gone except for a single example, and replicate back to that using a new window unit. I honestly don't feel that taking the 2 over 2s out, which are really a part of the history of the house, and replacing them with something that doesn't rattle and is better for the heat, those are all worthy objectives, but it's not preservation, as Steve is pointing out.
Yeah, it's clear that the 2 over 2s did replace the whatever was there before. Correct. I don't know if all the windows in the house were 12 over 12, but
they would have been. They would have been.
You know.
So, and we can look at the sizes, but anyway, that's just extent of my comments.
And I just wanted to add that you can see the picture that how this is the sandwich is made with the insulated glass, you know, with the spacer bar. Sandwiched between, so you have that same perimeter, so it looks as if the same profile runs the individual light, but in actuality it's one large piece of glass.
So Mr. Cummings, I understand that what Zach is suggesting is that if you used your same system, and as opposed to affixing a 2 over 2, you affixed a 12 over 12 grid, that would be acceptable. It would meet the energy requirements of the client and allow us to maintain consistency in how we treat windows. So I guess the question goes to the architect and the client. Is that a solution that could be considered?
Well, I'd have to draw that into the elevation of the house and consult with my client.
Okay. We would appreciate if you could have that conversation with your client to see if, and also if you could walk them through exactly the process that we went through to understand. And we appreciate what you're trying to accomplish. And from Dennis's comments, knowing that there have been updates to the windows and attempts to restore them, which we very much appreciate. But if they would look at or consider the 12 over 12, that would get them back to the original window style from the late 1700s. And then that way, we would feel that we really are going back and preserving the historical look, but using today's technology to be able to accomplish that.
Mhm.
Okay. And everything else, Zach, did you have any comments about anything
No,
else?
I'm grateful that the dormers have been adjusted because I think that's a big improvement. Thank you.
Okay, okay.
Well, thank you very much. And you can let us know how your conversation goes with the owners.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Jeff, for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yep.
Okay, so we will make a motion to table.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
And for the record, the next meeting is December 23rd.
Yeah, December 23rd. Mr. Coy and Mr. Downs, for you to know, December 23rd will be the next meeting.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much.
Okay, have a good night.
You too.
Thank
Okay, so now we are going to go on to new business. And the first item that we will discuss is 7 Brandywine Drive.
Hi.
Bonnie? Is the second just to open the paperwork? And
Try to screen share.
Okay. So do you,
Go to share screen on the bottom. And then that white box should show up. Oh, I got it.
is that good?
Yep, and now just click on whatever you want to start your presentation with.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
so just open up, hit
Just
one of
open
them.
One of the things like the front and
Oh, you
rear.
can't see the one that's up?
We can see all the individual pictures. So
Oh,
you now
you
just
can
need
see
to
that
highlight,
one? Can you
open that.
see it now?
If you click on that, just click on that.
Double click.
Can you see it now?
No, you need to click on the front and rear elevation.
Uh,
Double click.
Just go double click on the,
Okay, so this is what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right,
So
so
I'm
double click
clicking
that.
on it, but you can't see it.
Not
You
yet.
have to launch it by double clicking on it.
Yeah, I did. I double clicked. I don't know why it's not. I see it, but you don't see it. Okay. I don't know.
Ooh, a second ago.
I have double clicked on it. Can't believe it.
Minimize what you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Not yet.
No, you gotta click on the minimizing.
Okay. I'm minimizing that, and can you see it now? New share. Let me just see that. Let me get out of this. Okay, it says screen share has failed. Okay. Let me see, how do I go back to the Zoom thing where I have to, okay, new share. No. Oh, okay, wait a second, screen share.
Right.
Hang on,
think-
Carrie's doing it, Bonnie.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Bonnie, while we are pulling it up, we understand the purpose of this is to now have a current view of where the windows are, where the doors are, and how the shiplap will go now horizontal versus vertical. So the
Right.
one question I have, just to make sure that we are clear, you will have horizontal shiplap on the majority of the exterior of the house.
Yes,
However, you do not, you have vertical on the doorways, the front and the rear doorways, as well as the sliding doors. Is that the way you anticipate?
the sliding doors are just glass.
No, I know they are, but the
The
shiplap around
surround of
it,
them, like the back wall of the, if Carrie, if you could pull up the front and rear elevation.
Doing it.
Okay. Right, so the vertical is just going to be an accent within those shadow boxes. So there's three shadow boxes, and on the back wall of the shadow box, it will be vertical, and everywhere else it will be horizontal.
you do want those areas to be vertical.
Yes,
Around the sliding doors and around your front door and your rear door and for your pool house.
right, but for some reason, this picture is not coming through on mine. I don't know if you guys can see it on yours.
We can see it.
Okay, so yes, so the house will be horizontal, and the just inside the shadow box around the door will be vertical.
Okay, and your pool house will be vertical.
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that, since that was one of the major issues that we had to address.
yes,
And then the number of windows that you're gonna have, you now know what they are. You're gonna have in the rear, or excuse me, in the front, you're gonna have 4 on the top, basically over the door, and then 1 over to the side,
yes,
single window. And then
yes,
on the first floor, you're gonna have 3 as you are facing the door to the left and 1 on the right, and you're not gonna be adding any additional windows. This is gonna be it.
yes,
And then on the rear, you're gonna have a total of 5 on the second floor, and then you added the vertical ones around the balcony that were not there initially.
no, those were always there. Those are doors.
I know the doors are, but I mean, you added windows onto the sides of the balcony.
Oh, yes, they're not windows. They're just going to be openings,
Those are just cutouts.
just cutouts. Yes,
Okay, that's what we just wanted to be clear, so we know what we are looking at.
yes.
So it's fixed glass, it's glass in them?
No,
no?
it's just an
Just
open air.
open air.
Yes, open air.
Okay, that's what these are the clarities that we need.
Okay,
And then everything else is horizontal as far as the shiplap on the sides.
yes,
Okay. So just for everyone on the board, this project had been previously approved for the house. However, when construction began, they made changes, and that's the reason for Bonnie coming back and making sure that we are well aware of what all the changes are, and that the current permit will allow her to continue doing work on this new proposal.
do we need to vote on this new proposal because it is in fact a new proposal?
Yes.
Okay,
I just want to make sure everyone understands this, and if there's any other questions.
Can we see the renderings?
Can you see them?
I'm muted.
Oh, that's not a rendering. Those are just photos.
is this
No,
the
but-
actual house?
No, this is
no,
the
that was
color of
just
the
an
siding
insert.
that you'd like.
Yeah, that's just like an inspiration, somebody else's house that I just was sort of inspired
Okay.
by.
But it's horizontal on that inspiration house is horizontal.
Yes.
Okay,
So this is where they are to date with the construction, the framing of the house and the cutout of the windows.
And that, yeah, this is the kind of, it's different color, but the type of siding, the shiplap.
Okay.
And that's the house, the shape, that other photo was just sort of the house, another inspiration of a house in Bridgehampton that, the shape of it, that Carrie passed.
Okay.
There was like another photo there. If you keep scrolling, keep going, that one.
Okay, so given that everyone knows the status of where we are and the changes, is there anyone that is opposed to any of this, or are we comfortable with the changes have been made because the windows, the way they've been cut out, and then the other major change is going from initially vertical to now horizontal for the majority.
I'm curious to know if there are fines involved for going ahead and doing something that's not part of the plan.
The process is that a stop work order had been issued.
Mhm.
And that is the penalty that was withheld. And so now we needed to have fresh drawings to reflect what had been built to date and then what the new proposal will look like as far as what the house looks like.
Yeah,
And so
when
now
they
we-
went to frame the house, originally.
Connie,
on-
it's okay. We
Oh,
don't need to
okay.
go through
Good.
the detail.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
Um,
I'm comfortable. I'd like to go ahead and make the motion for Brandywine Drive.
Second.
We have a second.
Yep, Christian, just second.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we will go to 27 Palmer Terrace.
Good evening, members. Can you see and hear me?
Could you just pause 1 second just so we can sign the docs and stay on
Yes,
top of it?
absolutely. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm sorry. Is that Stuart? Oh, no, it's Brian. Sorry.
I'm Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, but with me I have Matthew Horvath, the landscape architect, as well as the owner, Stuart Hinchin.
Fantastic.
And we are before you today for the property at 27 Palmer Terrace. The applicant is proposing landscape modifications, a modification and relocation of the driveway, as well as a new garage door. With respect to the relocation of the driveway, as it currently sits, the southern access point to the property, it's kind of right smack in the middle of this S-curve on Palmer Terrace. It's basically like a double blind spot. I can share my survey to give you some visual.
That'd be great.
You can see that, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so this is where the current existing curb cut that we'd like to relocate is located. As I'm sure many of you know, Palmer Terrace, specifically in this lot, is kind of like a sharp S curve. So when you use this property, you're kind of a blind from both the left and the right, as properties coming from off of Main Street and off of Germain. So we're proposing to relocate the driveway off of the garage at the southern end of the property, so you can see the oncoming traffic, and retain the existing northern curb cut, so you can see also the oncoming traffic from Main Street. Another thing worth noting with this proposed driveway, we're reducing a considerable amount of pervious driveway paved structure. About 2,000 square feet is going to be removed, so there'll be a large reduction in lot coverage, and we're putting in pervious spacing, which will help with the draining and runoff.
That's great. Much appreciated.
Yep. And then as part of the landscape plan, there are a number of trees that are, the hedge, of course, will be relocated. So the property is screened by large mature hedging right now. Both the existing house and garage benefit from existing C of O. My client purchased it this past summer. And he's looking to create a new garage door, replace the existing just kind of standard roll-up driveway with a trifold garage door. And there are a number of trees which are kind of in poor health, and Matthew Horvath can speak to that, but that we're looking to remove, and some trees that we're looking to relocate to kind of change the landscaping of the property. And I'm happy to take any direct questions. Otherwise, that's kind of the intent of what we're proposing here. I can show you the proposed garage door. This is just a sample. And I can do that. It's not letting me zoom, but
Yeah, that's the garage.
So will any of the vehicles be in the garage with this door or no?
well, it's a garage, yeah. So presumably you could park vehicles in it, yes. It would be a manual door, so you'd have to open it, but it would still fully open, so cars can go in and out of the garage.
Is it a
What are the
double?
existing doors?
It's just a white roll-up door. I can allow Matthew to speak in more detail on that, but it's
Yeah.
just a white
Can I
roll-up garage
have
door.
a picture of that?
I do not have a picture of that. I don't know if Matthew has one that he could share.
Yeah, I might have an image. It's just your standard white aluminum door, architecturally insignificant. Let me see.
You can't see it from the,
Yeah, you can't see it from the road at all. I had to drive all the way in to
You
see
can,
it.
'cause the property is heavily screened.
Mhm.
So it's,
There it is.
Yeah, I don't have a great image of it, but those are the doors.
Okay. The reason I'm mentioning it, down below there. I
Correct.
see. Gotcha. It's a contributing structure in the historic district, not only the house, but the garage.
Mhm.
And so I think you're documenting that in fact the doors are not only new, but they're probably didn't have any down there to begin with.
Hi, how you doing?
oh, it's the background.
We seem to have some competition. But certainly the design solution for this building should be appropriate to the fact that it is a contributing structure, not just a garage on the property. That's my only point.
I think that's a fair point.
So do we have an elevation of what that's going to look like with the replacement doors?
No, we have not prepared an elevation.
Okay. That would be helpful. I mean, there are many solutions. I don't think it's going to be controversial. I'm just suggesting that since this is a contributing building in the district, anything like this should certainly be kind of drawn and represented so that the board can see it.
I guess it's just somewhat curious. It looks so much like a folding door to a home.
Yes.
Be given it's an accordion door as opposed to
A
a garage door. So if we and certainly this is just, I appreciate if you're going to take out an aluminum door and put in a wooden door, but one that would be more in style with the garage.
Typically, it would not be a folding, but simply two doors that are hinged. And then how they're designed in middle, there are many design precedents you can go with. There are probably examples around the village of barn doors. This is not exactly a garage, it's a barn, you know, with a pair of doors, which are board and batten doors, but this is a Queen Anne style building, and it's somewhat ornamental. It's got a little more design going for it than a simple solution. There are lots of, and replacing this later garage door is very desirable. That's a great thing, but something that's appropriate to the period of the building would be you know, best solution.
Look, sorry, it's Stuart Hinchin here, Chairperson. If I may just comment, I thank you all for considering the proposal today. Just to be clear that this structure underneath it was clearly built at some other point, because it's with Besset bricks to it, and it was used by the previous owners as some form of workshop to it. It's got a I don't think it's ever had a car placed inside of it. And what we're so in terms of there's nothing sort of like Queen Anne about this part of the structure. All the barn and the stable is something we dearly love, which is up above, and look to preserve that absolutely.
So we need a new design for the garage doors.
For the doors.
For the garage doors.
Okay.
And if there are a pair of doors which are hinged and subdivided in some happy way, that's fine.
And you'd like them to look like barn doors, is that correct?
Which in fact it is. And I think anything that's kind of novel and glazed and subdivided into too many units will look modern, will draw the eye to that element, when this is a historical building which wouldn't have something like that. I think for me, that's
so if I replace, just to ask, if I replace the roll-up door with another roll-up door.
I don't think you'd be coming to this board if you were doing that.
No, but like, that's what I'm trying to improve it, but the roll-up door there itself
is not.
Yeah, it's not really functional. So
well, fine. So if you need to replace it, then replacing it with something that's more appropriate to the architecture of the building, given the fact that it's a contributing structure in the historic district, is the direction you should go in. If you replace it with something kind of modern and glazed and multi-hinged, it's not going to look appropriate to this building.
Okay.
That's all.
So we do very much appreciate the landscaping that you're doing and lessening the amount of solid concrete, as well as saving some of the trees and moving them. These are all welcomed changes that you're making to the property. And as you look for different options of the garage door, we appreciate and look forward to hearing what you'd like to resubmit.
And no issues with the relocation of the curb cut with the board?
No, I think that's actually welcome as well from a safety standpoint.
That's great.
It makes a lot of sense. So I think we all agree with you on that.
Would it be possible to get those two components of this application approved tonight and table the garage door? Just procedurally so they can begin.
We don't have to make that. We don't need that decision.
Right. As far as the curb cuts, that is not a responsibility of the Architectural Review Board. We just look at it from an aesthetic point of view, how it would look. But you'll have to go to, the clerk's office and they will talk to you on that. And the one thing that I would just, on where you're going to be, the new drive that you would be putting in, that we would want an apron there to, lessen any pebbles that would come in to the road, because that's from a safety standpoint. That's something that we find very important for people walking or bikes. So we would want to see that as well.
Okay.
Okay. So our next meeting is December 23rd. And we would look forward to any suggestions that you would have so that we could approve the whole project at that point.
Okay, just to be clear, you're otherwise okay with this landscape plan?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
I just need motions. I'll make a motion to table 27 Palmer Terrace.
Second.
All in favor of tabling 27 Palmer?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, great. Now we are on to 4 Harding Terrace.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't have enough time to have my architect in attendance, so I'm going to try this myself.
We appreciate that.
And I'm going to hopefully not, I'm on my iPad, so in terms of pulling up the plans, is that something that you need to see for me to do?
Yeah.
We can pull them up for you.
That is appreciated.
Okay, that way we can proceed. Okay, so while Carrie is going in to pull them up and then be able to share them with us, would you like to outline what the plan is?
The plan is essentially to, this is mostly external, to really improve the aesthetics of the building. This is not a contributing structure, but the building is very out of balance. It is dated and needs updates that I think will add to the character of the residence. Essentially, the biggest element is changing all the windows so that they are balanced. Today, you'll see on the elevations, they're all at varying widths, varying heights, and the objective is to replace them with standard 2/2 Anderson 400 series.
So let's
Starting
get
in the
front.
Okay, and then in the front, you have to look at the, in the front, there is a desire to improve the distinction of the building so that we are changing the current colonial inspired overhang with something that is more updated, and replace and repair the stoop with bluestone, and then adding handrails to the car, because right now the driveway has no handrails at all up to the building, and that needs to be added as well.
Understood. So certainly from a safety standpoint, and then just for everyone on the board to understand, initially you were going to be coming out and you've made the changes so that you didn't need to be going to the ZBA for any kind of changes.
That is
So
correct. So as you're flashing the front of the building, you can see, for example, how one window's wide, one window's narrow. On the facing right side where you have the cursor, we'll put the cursor back to the right. There are some of these windows you can't even reach from the inside. It's a stairwell. So we think that what we want to do there is an improvement. But each of these windows would be the same type of window, where today you've got four, out of all those windows, there's 4 different kinds of windows. Also in the front, where today the stoop entrance is leaning in one direction and not the other, I have an issue with balance. So what we're going to do is notch that out so that one way is straight ahead. And if you're coming from the driveway, it is also straight ahead, linear, and balanced. And there'd be a cutout there where today it's one piece. Those would be adjusted so that there could be some, distinctive planter or something there on the side.
I think these all make sense. Certainly safety so that the handrail goes in the right way so you can use it, as well as having a
You can
balance.
see that there's a handrail on the step, but when you get down to the next set of steps, there is no handrail.
It's missing, right. So clearly from a safety standpoint, that makes sense. And
The other things that I intend to do is to paint the house away from the butter yellow that you're seeing. The windows would be replaced with a darker framing and kind of more analogous colors, a deeper gray. There is a version of the house not in the photos, but in the other drawings. There was a rendering, I think at the top.
all the way through it. I know I saw it.
I don't see it in the scans.
Well, these photos I just sent over a little while ago today, but
Okay.
those are just the surveys and the plans. But there was.
There it is. It's, it's in your original
Yes.
plans before you made the changes. That's why.
It is. Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they look great. Yeah.
So Ms. Vance, while we're on the front elevation photo, somehow I know the house, but seeing it in this perspective, I'm a little lost. The two windows on the lower right-hand side. Yes. Are you going to standardize? Is your suggestion to standardize those in some way?
Yes. Yes, I wish that the original plans that have the wrong overhang actually has a rendering that kind of shows, and I know that you can't see this well, but
Yeah.
the objective would be, can you see this at all?
Hold on. I'm going to try and hold it up.
I am. Can you see it at all?
So,
Yes, they can see that.
right.
Nope, can't see it.
Can
It's
you
on
see-
her. If
you
you're
see-
looking at Donna Vaughn's on.
I'm holding it up in my hand on my phone. So
From here.
Here, I'll stop sharing and then there you go.
There it is.
oh, there, someone's holding it up. Jamie
Yeah.
Kane is holding it up.
So see, that's what,
So this is
Please.
the old rendering that has the overhang that is now going to be recessed back to where it needs to be for the house. But what I'm trying, Mr. Williams asked a question about the windows on the other side of the house. So I want to show that they're all going to be like standardized to be the same, whether you're looking at the side or the front, or even the other side and the rear, so that they are balanced, 2/2, squared off, no archways. That is what the objective is.
So one follow-up question, if I might. So the actual window opening size, will those be altered, increased?
Yeah. Yes, they will be. They'll be increased in the front So for example, this bay window here does get wider. And then on the sides of the house, we are adding windows. Because
Okay.
the sides of the house, the windows are very diminished in terms of the scale. So it will open the window, you know, the ability to see out the window. So we're adding windows on the side. One, if you're looking at this one, this is the side of the house and that's the basement. So there would be an additional window there and an additional window there. So there'd be two, where today there's one.
Let me comment to my fellow board members. Ms. Vance is bracketed by two more modern structures. And so they have larger window openings. I think some of one or two of them have black framing or dark gray framing in the windows. So actually what's happening here is that she's going to, as opposed to them being consistent with her, she's modifying her property to be consistent with theirs. And I think it'll give the that side of the street much greater consistency and more balance. So I commend her concept.
Great. I mean, I think it looks nice and clean, where you're doing it, and
It's definitely an improvement.
Yeah, it's an improvement. And also, there's a new front porch that's different from the old one, as think I could see looking at your phone. So
Okay.
you have a new front entryway?
Yes, so Jean Kane had the plan in her hand. So this
Yeah.
one was extending too far. In fact, oops, it was extending and would have created a variance, and that really wasn't necessary or important. What was more important was that I felt that maintaining the current kind of very colonial attempt at a colonial vision there, that they more clean, and they're not really modern because, you know, I actually live in a historic district in the city, and 2/2 was really is what was original in the house today, which is from 1901. So it's not so much modernizing, though. Certainly with the clad aluminum, it does update it. I just felt that it was less objectionable and more.
Yes, yes, I think it's a huge improvement.
Oh, I wish my architect could be here because it was his idea. So.
Oh, good. I like all of your changes.
okay, great. So could someone make a motion, please?
I will move that we approve the changes to 4 Harding Place as presented by its owner, and that for all the exterior window changes and changes to the facade.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so I just want to make a point Bethany's bringing up, just so everyone does realize they will be adding an outdoor shower, which is going to be in the consistent structure of how it looks. It's going to blend right in. It's not going to look as if it's, you know, odd at all. And it will be in the same gray color. And so we just want to make sure everyone is aware. We will hardly see that from the street.
Because it's in the rear. Mhm.
Yes, but I just to make sure everyone is aware of that, because we just didn't discuss that, but it is in the rear, and obviously welcome use for the owner to be able to have an outside shower. So we understand.
I'll amend my motion to add the addition of an outside shower.
Yes.
Great.
Perfect. Okay, thanks, everyone. Ms. Vance, great job, and approved.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, now we are up to 33 Milton Avenue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
Yes,
Hi, members of the board. My name is Tate Overton. I'm the architect representing Kathleen Tate, who's the owner of 33 or 35 Milton Avenue, Sag Harbor. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
yes, please.
Great. Okay, so this project is a renovation of an existing one-story frame house. We are making an addition to the house, as well as renovating pretty much a gut renovation of the interior of the house and recladding the exterior of the house. We're also adding a detached garage on the rear lot, side lot. We're also landscaping and putting in a new recessed gunite pool in the rear yard. I'll go ahead and show you, pardon me for jumping around, but I'll show you some photos of the existing house. Number 3 here is the front facade of the house, existing in one story with a side kind of appendage. From the north end, there's that appendage off the side of sort of a sunroom. The rear driveway is existing rear yard, and sort of a detail of that a little closer to try to give you a picture of the south-facing facade. I'll walk you through the plan quickly, but basically the existing house sort of follows this shape, this rectangle, and our addition pops out towards the north end of the site. We're maintaining the existing number of bedrooms. We're not going for any variances on this property or this project. And it's all as of right in terms of setbacks and sky plane, et cetera. We're also staying within the allowable lot coverage and gross square footage, et cetera. So this is just a renovation all within right. I'll jump into our proposed elevations, and then I can talk through some of these materials. So the house has an existing pitch that we're riffing off of for the addition. So it's the same pitch for this living room extension. We're adding a front door to the house that currently there's no real proper front door. So that's here. We're replacing the windows and replacing the siding. We have a horizontal siding that's happening kind of around the front of the facade, wrapping to the south side, then a vertical siding that's in a color blue proposed on the front facade here. We have a planter in the front. We also have on this entry area and then wrapping around the back of the house, a vertical teak finish. So it's a natural wood finish that's going to be cladding sort of the private, if you will, areas of that facade. It's also cladding the garage. We have a new horizontal cedar 6-foot fence that wraps around for the sake of the pool. And this is just a view looking at the rear facade of the house. Again, that vertical siding, looking at the house, cutting through the pool. We're working with the fact that the site has a pretty decent grade to it. So we're trying to terrace it down so that we're managing water and being sympathetic to the natural grade. And then this is the south facade along the driveway. So you're standing on the driveway. So you're seeing the south facade of the house and that garage. Here's a little detail of the garage from the rear. And this as well as from the, I guess, the east or west side. Some renderings. So this is Milton Avenue here where the little hand is. So a new pathway, there's this big boulder in the front yard that we're keeping, of course. It's a new roofing to match the existing, but it's a new roof, asphalt shingle. We have a cricket condition for water control. There's a brise-soleil element kind of hovering over this planter in the front. Proposing a white hardy plank horizontal siding. That's what you see as white, and it wraps around. This is that vertical natural wood siding that's at the entry and then in the back areas. The pool grading. This is looking bird's eye view from sort of the northwest corner. So the garage is like a little mini me of the house. And it's clad with this vertical wood, natural wood. We have this, there's a fireplace that we're proposing. I failed to mention, but there's a fireplace in a new living room area that drops down to become an exterior fireplace so that there could be a nice little zone there. We're really trying to maximize all the possible activities that can happen on this lot. Pools here. We jump back. This view, this is a street view. So this is as we're coming, driving up Milton Avenue. There's a grade to Milton Avenue here, so we're not quite to the top of the hill, but this is a front facade looking from the northeast. So our boulder, and then we're having this little punch of color at the front facade. We just thought it'd be a nice gesture to make the house feel welcoming and fun. And then the horizontal white siding, vertical siding again, that brise-soleil piece, the fireplace, chimney dropping down, and the fencing. And this is the opposite view as though you're going sort of down the hill of Milton Avenue. The driveway, which we're keeping, but we're most likely going to turn it permeable versus the existing concrete, which is not so great. So horizontal white siding on that front elevation. Any questions so far, or shall I just keep going and you guys can jump in?
Maybe we'll pause just to see if there's any issues with the house before we go into the landscaping.
Okay.
I would say very much appreciate the renderings that you have, because with all the horizontal and vertical, it was looking a little busy in the drawings, between the fence and the, but when you see how you're using the white hardy board along with the natural cedar and you can see the differences, it makes it a lot warmer and you understand what you're trying to accomplish. So appreciate that. And also the fact that you're trying to follow the roof line and keep it consistent with the existing. Is there any questions, Christian? And obviously, it's not a large piece of property, so you're trying to maximize what you have with the shape of the property line as well.
Right. I can speak to more detail about the finishes, but you seem to so far, understand what we're trying to do. And yeah, I appreciate that you picked up on the busyness. It's really a specific intention of making the more private areas be a warmer material, although the white hardy plank is of course not cold. I should outline though, the windows, we're trying to make it as a singular gesture. So we have a window here and a larger window here, and then we have a gray panel that fuses the windows and the frames. So the windows and frames are painted out at black. Then we have a gray panel that connects them so that we don't have a series of punctures into the house as one kind of gesture. That was a design move that I just wanted to call attention to.
Oh, yeah. Actually, we picked up on that. We thought it was just one big window. So
yeah, it's because that's the idea. We want it to read like that, but not, have it's just not a huge window.
Okay.
So Tate, my comment thus far is that you, as usual, you've done a great work, and your concept is solid and attractive, and also kind of, again, it's an update that is consistent with what's going on in neighboring properties that we've approved recently. I am interested in the landscape plan, so when you get to that, I'd be very interested in terms of what you're going to do in addition to the fence to create some privacy around the pool.
Very well. Thanks, Steve. I can jump into that unless there's any other immediate questions.
I think we can proceed.
Okay, great. So I should clarify that we are removing several trees, so we're trying to replace them. Let me actually go back to that, just so I'm completely transparent with you. Where you see new trees, I think it's a count of 7. We're removing 7 trees to make the addition and the pool area, and to manage the landscape and not kill the trees because of new footing and new landscaping. So we're proposing new 7 trees plus a lot of other stuff. But that was an initiation of what we're doing with the trees. Just diagrammatically, you can see 3 new trees here, 3 new trees here, and a tree there. The illustrative plan will hopefully make it at least look more pretty. Also, I need to clarify also is not due to the enlargement of the house, because we're not enlarging the house greater than 25%, but we are doing a new septic system. It's a new AI system that has been designed, and it's in the process of being approved. We should be approved very soon. It's happening in the front yard. So some of the trees are being removed for that. But that is also happening on this scope. So what we're planning on doing is keeping whatever large mature trees we have around the perimeter. And then we have a gray birch proposed along this edge for the neighboring property, hydrangeas as well, and this serviceberry, Canadian serviceberry. These are all flowering trees that grow. They vary, but roughly 20 to 30 feet high. And then a dogwood tree is proposed back here in this corner. And then some low growth plantings around, and then also some lower growth plantings along here. And then there's existing rhododendron along here, although it's not really helping in providing privacy for the pool. But that's what we're proposing for the privacy along the fence line for the pool.
Tell you, is the fence that's surrounding the pool, that's going all the way over to the property line?
It is, I mean, up to, a comfortable point of the property line where there's, right, just inside the property line, correct.
Are the trees that you're replacing larger than the trees that you are adding?
Yes, three of the trees are mature trees that we're removing. The trees that we're replacing, they're not white oaks, but they are larger trees. They grow to be big. The dogwood would be the smallest. The gray birch would be on the larger side. So the serviceberry grows pretty large too, but it's just more branchy.
Mm-hmm.
Your feeling is that it will block the pool from the neighbors and.
Yes, between the fence and these trees being fairly densely located, I mean, not too dense, but they're pretty tight, especially around the viewpoint of the house that is right here. There's a house that's fairly close to the property line right here. So I want to make sure she's happy.
And the height of the fence that you're gonna be having going around, I just didn't see that on the plan.
Oh, sorry, it's a 6-foot high fence.
Okay, and that's a wooden fence?
It is a wooden cedar fence.
Okay, I just want to verify.
Yeah.
And that's the horizontal.
Horizontal, yeah.
Right. Looks just like this.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Is there a picture of the fence?
From the house, the part.
The front of the house, right? It's the same
I don't
fence.
have a photograph of the type of fence that it would
all right.
be.
Okay.
Okay, horizontal wood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Looks good.
Yeah. Our rendering doesn't really, is kind of vague, but it would gray out because it's cedar. So it turned a gray, but it's horizontal, just we'd like it to have I guess, play off of the horizontal siding, was why we went with the horizontal fencing. And it just feels a little more, I don't know, I feel like fence should be reflecting the landscape, which is horizontal. So it kind of helps the eye read the fence, less obtrusive to the landscape.
So, as I said, I think it's nice. My only concern is, a lot of people in our neighborhood are concerned about acoustics in terms of swimming pools in particular, because they generate usually outdoor music and laughter and conversation, which is great. Is there any consideration, since you mentioned the fact that the neighbor was pretty close, maybe to making that rear yard fence, not the side yards, but the rear yard fence, maybe taller and maybe somehow.
But I think 6 feet is the max that we can do.
Yeah, six is the max. But Steve, one clarification I forgot to mention. Kathleen Tate owns the rear yard property.
Oh, that's right. No, it's right. I'm thinking, okay.
And I don't think she's not planning on selling it. It's an investment for her family in the long term. So I'm not too worried about the rear yard, although your point is well taken for the side yard. But again, we are looking to try to plant this up as much as possible.
Okay.
Also, the side of the house, the orientation of the adjacent house is sort of like, I don't know if you can read it. It's not that close, but hold on. Let me just try to do this again.
I'm more worried. I'm more concerned about the neighbor downhill. Is that the red house? That's the neighbor.
It's
Milton and Cadmus, I guess.
It's not quite that far down. It is down the hill, but it's just quickly oriented this way. So it's horizontal, and the front of the house faces this way. And they have a porch in the back over kind of to this end. So this is sort of the side of the house that it's not directly facing, there's rooms facing it, but it's not like their porch and their livelihood is right on the side yard. Let me see.
So is that Weber? Is that Weber?
No, Weber's one more over.
Who's the neighbor?
I'm trying to remember her name. I'm drawing a blank.
You might see it on the survey. Hold on 1 second.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I know our kids' names. they're always playing basketball at our place. Gosh. Let me see if I can.
It's not Dr. Ford, is it?
No. Let me pull up something really quick.
I think we have to be not necessarily going through who the exact neighbor is, but just making sure that there's privacy. And I appreciate that we don't want to have loud noises going back and forth between different neighbors, but hopefully they'll be respectful. And if the 6-foot fence, which I believe is the maximum that's allowed, as well as what could be 12 to 15, and then as the trees mature, that would bring more privacy, certainly during seasons when people would be using the pool.
Correct.
So Madam Chair, I'm going to withdraw my comments based on your direction. And I don't have any problems with it. I was asking neighbors' names only because I know who has a pool and who doesn't. So if you have two neighbors with a pool, it's all fair play. That was my only thought. Yeah. Besides that, I support the project, just to be clear.
Okay, thank you. So if we want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. 33 Milton Avenue.
I'll second.
as presented.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye. I think it's 35, Milton.
It's,
Uh,
it goes by both, as a,
Oh,
it's both
oh,
lots,
really?
yeah.
Oh, okay,
I think because she owns the two lots, but I believe this is 33.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is by, on the record.
Yeah, just so, okay, terrific. We appreciate it and
Thank you very much, everyone.
all the hard
Appreciate it.
work and look forward to seeing the property completed.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Okay, now we are moving on to, oh, sorry, 39 Suffolk Street.
Good evening, Anthony Vermandois, 68 Union Street. So I'd like to go to screen sharing, please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Okay, can you folks see the photo of the front facade?
Yes.
Okay, great. What I'm going to do is, I think rather than going into the drawings first this time, I think I'm just going to go through the photographs first, because I think they're a little bit better to kind of explain what we're doing and not doing. So first of all, you have the front facade here, and I think I can say with some confidence that nothing that we're doing will be visible from the street due to the laws of perspective and also existing screening. But be that as it may, this is the front facade of the house. It's the front door. Okay, so I'm going to call your attention to this. You can still see everything, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. You can. I'm going to call your attention here. This is the side of the house. It's very close to the property line. There's this existing little bump out here, and then the house kind of shoots back further than that. It's impossible to even walk around back here, so I don't really have good, much less do an adequate photograph of it because it's so heavily planted out with screening and close to the property line. But the bulk of the work we're doing is going to be on this side of the house behind this little existing bump out, which is not going to be changed. So just to orientate yourself that way. Okay. So now we're moving around to the other side of the house. This is just the backyard showing an existing pool house and pool, no changes there whatsoever. Then on the other side of the house, so what we're doing here is you can see the front part of the house here off to the left, and this is the back coming back portion to the rear. You can see the grade slopes down quite a bit there. There's some existing terracing getting yourself from the grade at the front to the grade in the back, which is maybe about 7 or 8 feet lower. So on this side of the house, all we're planning on doing is taking this 4-panel French door, popping it out 3 feet. So it'll come out 3 feet from the existing plane. This is just to create a little kind of mini mudroom in the house. And then we're taking this existing roof line and we're gonna pop it up about halfway across to about here, 1 foot, to create a little shed dormer here, which will kind of greatly improve the utility of the rooms here. This little carbuncle thing here goes away. We're going to reconstruct the foundation in just the rear part of the house, not the front part of the house. So this will go away. This little carbuncle coming off the back here will go away. This outdoor shower goes away. So this is that, it's hard to kind of explain where you're looking at, but if you can imagine this being the back facade and you're looking at that sort of side yard of the property here, the bump out we saw earlier is in front of this second bump out, which is behind it. And this is what the main part of the work is going to be, is tearing this down and enlarging it a bit, but we'll see that in the photographs. Here's the back facade. So once again, this little bump out thing here goes away. This little thing here goes away. 3-foot bump out here for the doors. Okay, so I'm going to go into the drawings now. I may need to exit and re-enter screen share, but let me just try without doing that first. Okay, can you see the drawings?
Not yet.
Just the photograph.
Just the photographs. All right, I'm gonna have to stop share and go back to sharing then. Give me a moment. Okay, can you see the drawings now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So these are the comparative elevations. So on the side here, this is existing, this is proposed. So you can see where we're just taking this existing door, popping it out 3 feet. This is the little bumping this roof up 1 foot to create the shed dormer. Then on the other side, we've got, so this is the first bump out, which you can kind of see from the street. This is the second bump out behind it. And the idea here is to kind of fill in this gap here of this second bump out and add a small second story to it, which does not come out to the facade of the first floor. And then the rear facade, once again, existing, proposed. So here is the shed coming off of this addition. This is the existing bump out, the second bump out behind it. Then kind of cleaning up this back facade a little bit, French doors coming out from the basement, a couple of extra windows there. All right, so let me go into the floor plans. Can you still see the floor plans?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right, so first floor plan here. So once again, this is facing, I'm not going to bother to reorientate this. I think you can kind of see it just as well. So this is facing towards Suffolk Street. This is the rear. Here's your 3-foot bump out here coming out of this plane. Here's where that existing bump out to the other side is, filling that in here, filling in that little corner there. This remains the same. Front facade obviously remains the same. Then going to the second floor, here's where we're popping up that 1 foot of that roof line to create that shed dormer, which will help this bedroom work better. And then adding out behind it, the other shed dormer on the opposite side is for this closet space here. This is the first floor outline here. So that's really it. Not really a lot going on, but a lot of little tiny parts here and there. So I hope that isn't too confusing.
So am I reading this right? You're picking up about 300 square feet?
Yeah, I think we're probably adding about 300 square feet or so, probably about, yeah, maybe a little bit less than that.
Mhm. Well, certainly from the vantage point of what we see, there is very little change. It's just really everything that's going on, as you said, behind that initial bump out on the left.
Right.
And then in your rear yard. And then you're going up and out.
Yeah, going up and out on this this little section of the house. And then going out here.
And obviously you're gonna keep all the same paint colors, everything is.
Yeah, at this point, everything is the same. The house was actually probably renovated maybe about 10 years ago, and they did a pretty decent job of it. So there's not really a whole lot of work we need to do to the house itself. This is just kind of making a few little parts here and there function better.
Do you happen to know when the whole addition out the back was put on the house?
I'm not really sure. When they did the renovation 10 years ago, they really did a really good job of keeping this front part of the house intact. I mean, all the interior trims there, the original floors, original windows, they did a great job with that. The back, though, is a much more altered. New windows, new flooring, all that sort of stuff. So it's hard to really get a read on how much of that is original and how much of it is, I mean, how much of it is historic and how much of it is new. I would say the fact that they didn't fill in this little bump out, this little area here, which required a variance, which we did get, it leads me to believe that this was probably an older rather than a newer part of the house, and they just didn't feel like getting the variance to fill that little corner in. But as I said, this back part of the house has been considerably altered.
Yeah, you never realize, right? From the front that back looks like.
Right,
that.
right.
Don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
It's a very modest modification of the existing house. I think it's very successful.
Yeah.
From all sides.
Right.
I mean, the house itself is a gem.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite unusual in many respects, and to preserve that and not to be enlarging it in such a way that would be lost is very good.
I actually agree with that, with Zach's comments, and since this is not in sight lines, I really don't think that we need to worry about preservation standards here. I think they're pretty much free to do what they want.
Yep.
Agreed.
Okay.
And Anthony, we very much appreciate the photos because it helps us understand.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, great. So can we make a motion?
So moved. I move that we approve the expansion plans as presented by Anthony. I'm looking for the address. Is it
39 Suffolk.
39 Suffolk. Without comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Approved. And thanks, Anthony, for the great work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. 160 Suffolk Street.
Okay, that's me as well, Anthony Vermandois. If you could just give me a moment here to get switched files here.
Well, we do the same.
All right, I'm ready if you are.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All righty. So I'm going to screen share. So here you've got the front facade of the house. This is just a little, I think 1970s Cape Cod, so kind of further down on Suffolk Street outside of the historic district. So it's kind of a cute little house, but it is what it is. So the plan here is to add a first floor master bedroom wing off to this side, and then in the back of the house, obviously not visible from the street, to add a sunroom. So if we go to the floor plan, once again, I'm going to have to stop screen sharing here to get to the actual screen I want to share. Okay, so here we go. That's not right. Okay. Okay, I hope we can see the floor plans. Okay,
Yes.
so really the only changes here are to the first floor. This is the existing house here, just a simple rectangle. We're adding a master bedroom addition here to the side and a sunroom addition here to the rear. To the elevations now. Okay, so here's the front facade. We are going to replace the windows, 6/6 windows. These windows in the living room, they're a little kind of squatty looking, so we're going to make them a little bit longer. Adding a window here to the other side, and then here's the master bedroom addition. Ridge height will be slightly lower than the main ridge height. These two dormers are existing. Let's see here. I think. That's weird. Try something different here. Let's try to zoom out here. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's the master bedroom addition. That's the main existing ridge. Here's the ridge of the addition. Here's, you can see the sunroom poking out in the back there. Here's the rear facade. So this big shed dormer is existing. Here's the sunroom addition, a new set of doors that we're doing off to the backyard. Here's the master bedroom addition here. Just the roof line is basically, it's a gable and then a slightly smaller cross gable going into it from the back. It's just to make all the roof lines work. Little outdoor shower thing here. Yeah, and the other side here. So here's the sunroom addition and a little bike shed we're going to add to the side here. We're good with all setbacks and pyramid law. Here's the pier. The only place where it even came close was here, but we just had enough room to clear it. So I didn't have to do one of those funny hip things in the roof. And that's really it.
Looks like a nice addition to the existing house.
I have a question about if you could scroll down slightly to the next. Yeah, that you have 1/1 windows up above, and then these very lots and lots and lots and lots of little panes on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it almost seems as if you could have fewer panes maybe down below.
Well, I think what happened here is these are actually the existing windows, which are 1/1. I think at this point the plan was not to change them, but I think if the budget allows for it, I think we would just replace these windows with 6/6, like what we're
Mhm.
proposing to replace the front with. Yeah, that'll make it match up nicely.
Yeah. Okay.
It is the back of the house, so.
Yeah.
If,
And when you're standing, you don't really see that shed dormer, because of perspective. So it's not really as in your face as it looks in the 2D elevation. But once again, if the budget's okay, and I think it will be, because it's just 4 windows, we'll probably replace those 2.
Mm-hmm. It's like a nice job.
So just my question, Anthony, the write-up is a little confusing. So the existing shed dormers in the back, those are existing? That's my question. Are those?
Yes, this shed dormer is existing.
So
the little dormers in the front are existing too, but there we are definitely changing the windows to the, now they're 1/1, so we're changing those to 6/6.
And also I noticed that you have 3 windows that have shutters and then the rest of the windows don't. I don't know if that's it might be less cluttered if you took the shutters off, but
They're existing.
just an idea.
They are existing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay, I think this is a nicely done job on a smaller house, and you're gonna add some nice living space for them.
I'll make a motion to pass 160 Suffolk Street.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Great,
very
thank you.
much. Yes. Oh, that's me. Okay, great. Now 64 Hillside Drive West. Oh, it's Dennis. You need to unmute, Dennis.
There we go. Am I
Great.
unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, so you've looked at this application before. The only thing I need is somewhat of a consensus that I'm okay with the slight addition that they're making to the back of the house. It's like an L-shaped. The back portion of the house goes out on one side of the back door and goes straight back, and that's going to require a variance.
So are you treating this like a discussion item?
I don't know. I think they put me on as new business, but I think I'm still waiting for the ZBA. I'm going to need a rear yard variance because the extension that they're proposing to put on the house goes into the rear yard.
And is this a corner lot property?
No, it's an interior lot. It was a very rundown house. The house was inherited by my client from her father and mother, and it was in disrepair at the time. And we boarded everything up. At the request of the Justice Court, they issued a summons for an unkept house, so to speak. And they boarded up all the windows and doors and then started working on the roof to clean it up. And then the owner decided that she would like to put an extension on so that she can make it a year-round house for herself and her husband who are retired.
Yes, we're just trying to get a sense of really what you're proposing here. When we look at the drawing, we don't see any comparisons of existing versus proposed. And
I think all I have is plans for what the house is going to look like as opposed to what it does. I sent photographs in of what it is today.
okay, we see the photos and can see that it's very dilapidated and as you stated, but in order for us to have any kind of
There is a site plan that shows the proposed dwelling, which is basically the front building stays the same, and they're just putting a wing on the back in an L shape, with the front of the building being the bottom of the L.
But I don't think there's a rendering or a elevation, right?
No.
Yeah, there's elevation drawings. They should all be there. We
Here's new building.
filed several sets.
Okay, so we,
Madam Chair?
yes,
The drawing A300, which is the elevations.
Since Mr. Downs mentioned that it has to go in front of the ZBA,
might make sense if he does that first.
yeah,
They're always going to ask me, have you been to A or B, and are they comfortable with it? So I wanted to be able to tell them whether you were comfortable with this proposed addition or not.
But we don't know what it's going to look like.
yeah, I think Dennis, we discussed this during one of your other presentations. For us to say we like something and then it doesn't fit within the approved envelope, building envelope, it means that's gonna have to be changed and altered again. And I think that they should maybe provide clearance for the footprint of the new additional footprint of the building, as well as, sky plane, or we call it, I guess, a pyramid out here. So we're really, I'm surprised that they keep asking you whether we like it or not. I think that thing to really determine first is the building envelope.
Yes, so if, and I agree with what Mr. Williams is saying. So Dennis, if.
I can come, I have to come back after I go to ZBA
After you go to
anyway.
the ZBA and are in agreement with them.
But if
you
you're,
also-
if between now and then, if you look at A200, that's the existing elevations of the existing building. And then you go to A201, and that's the proposed building with the box out in the back. And A300 is the elevations of what the new building would look like with the addition. But, and you should have a site plan that goes along with that. That I've got in my file. We texted everything over to, not texted, we PDF'd everything over to Heather this morning because she said it wasn't in her file.
Right, so.
I have a receipt for all the paperwork that we submitted, so if there's something you're missing, I'll be glad to get extras.
Okay, so we can see from a bird's eye view what the addition that you're going to be putting on of A101. But in order for us as a board, that we want to see visually what it currently looks like from a building versus just the outside. We don't need to see bedrooms, et cetera.
Right.
We just
I
need.
think
to
my
see-
photographs show that already, right? Don't you have front, back, and sides of the existing dilapidated building?
So what we see how dilapidated a door is where there's deterioration.
Yeah, that was all before we boarded everything up.
So we have three pictures here. One showing how dilapidated the front door is, the lower part of the front door with a lot of leaves around it, and then the Bilco door where there's deterioration. So we don't really see four sides of the house, which is what we would need. And then we would need to see, existing versus what's proposed. So we can see it. So then we can have an opinion as to what it's gonna look like. So we
Okay,
do-
so why don't we
see
just
the
adjourn
three-
to the next meeting, and then I will see that you get the proper paperwork. And I'll
That would
take
be
more photos
fantastic.
of the house.
Right, so
And
December
now you're gonna see
23rd.
photos of a house that's got all boarded up. You're not gonna be able to see the old windows and stuff, but I think the drawing A200 pretty much shows what the windows looked like in that house. They're kind of,
Okay. Right,
I
you
don't know,
can
they're
see how the gutters falling down and it's,
yeah, that's all been repaired now.
Dennis, have you been in front of the ZBA at all?
Not yet, no.
okay, so that would be great. I think the first step is to get onto the ZBA before you come back to us. Our next meeting is December 23rd. I don't think you'll be in front of them before that because they've already had a meeting, so we can see you in January.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. Thank you. So,
Heather, do you have the January date?
No, this is gonna be adjourned and. when
Okay,
they're
we'll leave it
ready
open until,
to have their NRV.
we'll just leave it open until I get done with ZBA.
No.
Is that okay, Mrs. Chairman?
Yeah, we'll adjourn it for right now, and then you'll come back on once we,
Then we'll withdraw.
okay, so we'll withdraw it for the moment, but understand you'll bring back a more completed package. And you'll also have the direction from the ZBA, and then we look forward to having that discussion then.
Okay, fine. Can I make one comment? I made a mistake during the mold discussion. I said the windows were 12 over 12. My wife was in the room when I was talking, and she said that window was a 6 over 6. So not 12 over 12. I made a mistake.
I mean, for the initial.
207 Main Street,
with-
owned by Mulg, MULG Inc. So it wasn't 12 over 12, it was 6 over 6.
But you'll bring that,
So just so. gosh,
you'll
that
bring
had-
that new window, I mean, that, whatever it is. So
If they
you
could
don't-
if they could show us a photo of the window that you found in the basement, so then they.
I'm gonna look. I got about 350 photos of when I did the renovation there inside that house. And I don't know whether I took a picture of it, but the window was very damaged. Everything was rotted on it. And I know we took the glass out and saved that, but everything, all the wood we threw away. So I don't know if I have a picture of it, but and the other story with this, unfortunately, is there were 2 houses on that lot at one time. The first house burned down in the early 1800s,
Right.
and then they rebuilt it.
I remember you mentioned that before. So I do think it would be important that we have clarity, whether it's 6 over 6 or 12 over 12, so that those current owners can go to what the original thing was, because that's the idea.
I told the original owner, because after Marilyn, my wife, mentioned it to me that I was wrong, I called him and told him I was going to try to correct the record. But why don't I just send a letter in explaining what was there when we first bought the house and what I discovered over 4 years of research.
And if we could find any pictures, that would be
I
very,
hope so.
very helpful.
Yeah,
That'd
I'm
be
really
very
hoping.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you for
Okay.
that amendment.
Can I get a motion to withdraw the application?
Motion to withdraw the application.
I'll second.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All in favor?
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, great. Okay.
Would it be okay if I called Zach tomorrow and explained to him what I found historically on the house with respect to the windows?
I think why don't you send the letter in and then see if we can have any photo, and we will have that conversation with Zach. Okay, I think that's the best way to do it. Okay, now we are going to move on to 64 High Street.
Okay, so good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ted Porter, and my firm is the architect for 64 High Street. My client, Mr. Thomas Harris, couldn't be at the meeting tonight, but he wanted me to present the project. Thank you for allowing us to do this. The existing house at 64 High Street is not a contributing structure on the register for Sag Harbor. May I share the screen and pull up a photo?
Yes, please.
Okay. And I'll have to go back and forth sharing, I'm sorry, just to show you different things. So we're talking about the house in the distance on the left in the middle. So the existing house is composed of a 2-story block with a clipped gable and dormer windows, and then a very low slung addition. The lot is very long and relatively narrow with a narrow 50-foot side along High Street. The required side yard setbacks for new construction on the site of 15 feet each limit the width of any new construction to 20 feet. Our clients and I agreed that we would not design anything that would require a variance. So now I'm going to stop share and reshare and show you a kind of close-up of the house, if I may. But please note, the facade you're looking at is 120 feet away from the street. It's way back from the street. So this is the two-story block I was talking about, and this is another addition. So we propose to restore that two-story block of the existing building, to remove the low-slung addition and to replace it with a new volume in a very similar shape to the original two-story house. And then there'll be an entry that will tie these two volumes together. All of this new construction conforms to the setback and pyramid laws of the village. And the resulting 1,400 square foot house will have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, a powder room, closets, and a stairway in the original two-story volume, and then a combined living room, dining room in the new volume, and then the entrance that connects these. There's an existing partial basement that will be used for mechanical equipment and storage. So now let me go to the plans, if I may. Let's see, where is my, oh, sorry. Let's share. So here's the site plan, and I'm sorry that it's very small, but to the far left is the survey showing essentially north. So that's the way we oriented our site plan. So where my cursor is,
did you say it's 50 feet wide?
It's 50 feet wide.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, this whole lot is 50 feet wide. So this is High Street where the cursor is. We would, and this is the existing dwelling. So we are restoring it, or basically rebuilding it. And then we're putting a little connector piece, and then we're doing a very similarly shaped volume adding onto the front. So even this facade is still about 90 feet from the street. We were quite constrained because of that narrowness. You know, the interior dimension is basically 18 feet when you have really well insulated walls. So both of the, I'll stop sharing also just for a minute and go back. Both of the adjacent houses have wooden shingles on them. These are a little older, these are newer. And so we would have cover our house in wooden shingles on both the walls and the roof. And even the house directly across the street from where this photo was made is my personal house, which also has wood shingles. There will be off-street permeable surface parking for 2 cars, which we would like a new curb cut near here on the cursor. And we will take up the very extensive asphalt driveway that goes all the way back to the house and just have a permeable surface, as I said, for 2 cars. There's one tree in the front, this old maple tree, which is quite diseased, and all of this section never leaves out. An arborist suggested we remove that and we would replace it with a Tupelo gum tree just over to the left a little bit so that there's room for the parking, the off-street parking. The existing hedges on the front will remain, and the existing hedges along the sides, which are shared with both this neighbor and this neighbor, will remain. I'll quickly go through the plan of the house. Well, the roof plan, you see, this is the existing roof plan, and this is our newly proposed roof plan. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone in my office has told me it's not sharing. Let me reshare. Can you see the what looks like a roof plan now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So these are this is, where's our first floor plan? Oh, here we go. So the existing plans are on the left, our proposed plans are on the right. You would walk along the side of the house. There's a connector here you would enter. You either go to this side to the living room, dining room, or this side to the kitchen and primary bedroom with bathroom, accessory stuff. and then a stairway that goes down into that small existing basement, and a stairway that goes up to a bedroom and a bathroom and a closet upstairs. Then the exterior of the house, we would essentially, you can see we've basically taken this form, we've kept it in all its particulars except changing the windows, and we've added a similar form with the same roof pitch to the front. This is the side of the house. We have, this is the side that faces the neighbor who's fairly close, so we kept the windows small, and there's a very tall hedge along here. Then this is the south back side of the house. And then this is the side of the house that faces 58 High Street, the neighboring property. That house is also owned by these clients. So they were very concerned that there be a kind of relationship between the two houses, even though they are in no way connected lot-wise or anything. So any questions?
Is the north elevation that you're showing us, is that the one that faces the street, the High Street?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Can you center that again, please?
Yes.
Right there, right there. So how, where do you get into the house? On the
Well, let me
side?
go.
Yes, on the side.
So you would park. Oh, can you see the
Yes.
site plan now? So,
Yes.
so you would park, and there's just a walkway along this side of the house, past a terrace, into a doorway that connects the two pieces of the house.
Mhm. Got it.
And then all of this would just be lawn in the front.
As it is today.
Yes, except that, as you know, currently, if you looked at the survey to the side, there is about a 12-foot asphalt driveway taking up a lot of it.
Side, yeah.
Right.
And you plan to remove that driveway.
Yes, we do.
That's
And the
a
garage,
good thing.
It comes up to a garage, correct?
It does.
So that'll be, that garage will be gone.
Well, that's part of the existing house that we're keeping.
Oh,
There's no more garage, though.
but it won't be a garage, it'll be.
No, it will not
Well,
be
you
a
said-
garage. It's basically the stairway now that will go up to the second floor.
Oh, I see. I understand.
I got you.
Do you know when the original house was built?
The original house was probably built in around the same time that the adjacent house was built, because it was probably the garage or service structure for the adjacent house. Then the site was divided off, and at some point, I mean, you probably all know the Garens. The elder Mr. Garen sold 10 feet of the property to the house that's just to the east of this house, and that resulted in this incredibly narrow lot.
So do you have a date, though?
I think around 1906 is when, we only know that the house next door was 1906, because this house it's listed as a non-contributing structure. There's nothing said about it in the Sag Harbor,
Right.
the National Register.
Like Johnny Moore.
Okay, so by taking the garage out, but keeping the footprint, that allows that space to be used as part of the single family dwelling. Is that correct?
Correct, because as of right, I mean, if our clients stretched a house all the way up that 20 feet, they could build I think it's about 2,560 square foot house. But the house we're proposing only has 1,400 square feet.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, were you going to ask something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, my only concern is I think that virtually blank facade facing the street is not consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. It's just a blank wall in comparison to what's commonly entries. Understanding the use for it, I can understand the utility of this design. My suggestion would be if you could put a doorway, folding doors so that they could, open or exit in that direction, so it would look like an entry even though it wasn't used. That's my only comment. I just think that the blank wall is kind of stark.
Yeah, I think actually that's a good suggestion, or at a minimum, have some trees or some kind of coverage.
Well, I appreciate the suggestion. I just want to make it clear, when you look at this elevation, the proposed north elevation, it's only the 20-foot part that's coming forward. And so, a good 1/3 of that elevation is that window. So I appreciate your comment about it not being a door, but it's not a blank wall. I don't want it to be seen read as a blank wall.
Well, but it's just a window. It's a window
Yes.
and a blank wall. So I think to the point of, to have some harmony with all the other homes on the street, where you more typically are going to see a front door, which was there, or a garage door, which was there, some form of entry. If you could think about some other options that would have it look that way, even if you don't use it.
Even a pair of windows would symmetrically placed on that wall would be more consistent with the architecture on the street than one big square, asymmetrically located window, which is quite modern and interesting, but quite different from what's next door.
Even as a compromise, if that window was centered, but the off center is kind of.
And the size of it.
I think I'm liking the suggestion of more trees more.
Well,
Let's see what you come up with.
So why don't you toss it around and think about if you could have an entry or
A make-believe entry.
a faux entry, whatever the proper terminology is. Zach, you can help me with that.
Well, that could be French doors and they wouldn't have to lead to anything.
Yeah, that would be actually a great idea.
Even if there was some sort of a terrace or something outside of that, behind some trees.
Right, absolutely.
Mhm.
Or you could always paint a mural that had an entrance on it.
One-way glass.
Zach, right, there's a house on Main Street.
Like the road line.
That's what they did. They changed the main entrance to the side. Remember that, the big house? And they kept the front door, but it's not, you can't even open it. It's not even.
Oh.
No, it's
yeah.
not a brick one, it's wide. So it would be on the front, the address is Main Street.
All right, so Mr. Porter, we're giving you different ideas that you can understand what we're asking you to try to accomplish. With us completely understanding the width that you're working with and trying to maximize the living space, even though with that, it's still a very modest house. But, it allows you to use the existing footprint to have it be as wide as it possibly can. And as close to the neighbors.
Oh, could we stay on that picture for a minute? I wanted to comment on the fact that the original house has these overhanging eaves and roof lines that goes beyond the wall, but the new structure has no overhangs at all, and looks a little bit stark to me that way. It would soften the look of it if they had a bit of eave and a bit of overhang.
Definitely a modern detail.
I'm sorry?
New.
Well, I think, I mean, it's an interesting architectural issue. Our idea, which we have a very strongly held idea, is that rather than bulldoze the old house, which apparently, given that it's not a contributing structure, would be one approach that we could take. But we don't want to take that approach. We want to make it better. It's currently covered in white asbestos shingles, and it just doesn't look anyway appropriate to the neighborhood, I don't think, living across the street. So in putting shingles on it, wood shingles, we think we have helped resolve it into the neighborhood or contextualize it. And then, but we didn't want to, it is a new structure, the little piece we're adding.
Right, so you want to show the difference, right?
While we kept the form, we were very conscious of keeping the form. We did want to articulate it somewhat differently as a new structure that complemented, in our eyes, the old structure. So I just wanted you to know how our process worked, because I've been before you before, and I've been before previous boards, so I understand and appreciate your concerns. But I was hoping that, given that this was not a contributing structure, yet we were trying to be very respectful of the older part.
But I think that Bethany's point is far more functional than the aesthetics. I'm wondering, where is the rainwater going to go when it falls on your roof? It's going to drool down along the side of your facades. The point of those overhanging eaves in the older dwelling is that it, without any gutters and downspouts, is it throws the water off the walls.
No, I appreciate
that.
I appreciate that, but
I get the aesthetic, but let's be practical. The rainwater is just going to ooze down on the sides of those walls.
Well, I mean, basically the shingles are a rain screen. There's a airspace between those, and there's a roofing structure, a membrane roof, and that wraps down the walls of the house. It's a very high-tech solution, but it is used in for lack of a better term, the Hamptons often. And even the house earlier,
You're not concerned with water getting, is there a basement in there?
I'm not concerned about that. And my clients and I have discussed that, and engineers have discussed it.
Why?
I mean, the base of the house would have a French drain all the way around it to take any of that water.
Okay, so that's, and just, I just want to be clear. So it would be an asphalt roof on the top, and then.
Oh, no, that's shingles. That's wood shingles as well.
It's wood shingles. That's what I wanted to be sure. Okay, it's all wood shingles. Got it.
Yeah.
Just couldn't tell exactly from the rendering. I see.
Just to follow up on your points, you're saying that for relocating a window or putting in a secondary or tertiary access door, whether it's functional or not, you prefer to tear everything down and start again?
Oh, no. I wasn't saying that about that. I was saying that.
I thought you mentioned bulldozers and stuff.
No, because no.
Okay. All right.
I said I preferred having the tree option that was suggested.
You did use the word raising there somewhere in your sentence, but maybe I got confused.
That was definitely.
He said that was an option, but then he chose not to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say, Mr. Porter, if you could think about some of the suggestions that were made. We understand what you're trying to accomplish. And then we would look forward to seeing what you could bring back. December 23rd is our next meeting.
Okay.
Almost.
You want
Okay.
So the basic layout, just to give me more guidance, the basic layout is okay of the volumes. It's the detailing of them and the fenestration.
It's more the vision from the road, anyone walking by or driving by, that it would be very different. And so we're just trying, not to say that we want everything to look exactly the same by any means. But we would just want it to be where people would expect to see an entrance on the front.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much.
For feedback.
So we can make a motion
To table.
table
I'll make a motion to table.
64 High Street.
64.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So now I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting and thank everyone. Do we have a second?
All second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone have a lovely evening and we will see you on the 23rd.
Very good.
Nice. Night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Christian and I will do it the 23rd and then he'll be done and then we'll rotate. Yeah.